Music. Live. Live. Music. Live music. Trum, 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 trum. Let me tell you about music and life, and in particular about transition. Let me take you back a bit further in my life. It was the late 70s, I was born. Then I heard a lot of music, but I didn't progress it so much consciously. Later on, I became a bit older, I listened to the radio, heard a lot of music. It was fun, it was new. Then I became a teenager, and some dark period. With difficulties, it's nice to listen to heavy metal. It's always good to put in a lot of aggression there. Better to put it in there than to put it on people or whatever. It can be a bit extreme. So heavy metal is a lot of guitars, and the lyrics, well, I don't know what they're singing, they're grunting, so like, Toastmasters. It's great. As a Christian, I always needed to check what the lyrics were, just to be sure. I mean, I don't want to worship Satan, but I'm listening to the music. So that can happen with heavy metal, so I was careful there. But the more extreme, the better, right? I liked it. I could even learn with this. I was reading, did my housework, my homework with that. And then something changed in the music scene. So I didn't listen to heavy metal anymore. Suddenly I was listening to house, to trance. So that is basically dance music. So why do I transition from heavy metal to trance? That's a bit weird, right? What do you think? Is that a weird transition? First you have the heavy metal guitars, and then suddenly you have electronic music. How weird is that? Well, if you think about it, it's not that strange. Because heavy metal is like guitars with rhythm all over it. And then the dance is also rhythm all over it. So you have, well, nowadays it's a bit slow, but at that time you have a nice bass. A lot of BPM there, beats per minute. So yeah, it should be faster than your heart rate, and it can become quite extreme as well. Transition. How is that with speeches? I always find it interesting to have weird transitions, but still work somehow. And then I always think about speech, starts with laughter, and then suddenly it becomes very delicate. They talk about suicide and stuff. How can this connect to each other? But it works, because that part is heavy, and then you compensate it with humor, so then it balances. Back to the music. Because in those days, you had DJs, now they also have DJs, but at that time they were using LPs. So at some points they have turntables, you have 4 turntables, and they were blending things. So you have one for the bass, one for the melody, and 2 other turntables for another melody. So they could just blend the transition from one song to another. Some DJs then got the point, so you were dancing like this, and then suddenly there was a transition. How can that be? How can, if you do it smoothly, then it works somehow. Yeah, it's the same in the speech. If you have a subject and you change to another subject, then you need to have some sort of bridge in between. Well, one sentence is usually enough, but if you don't have that, then it might be difficult to follow. Another thing with music is, it shouldn't be too simple. Nowadays, when I listen to the radio, it's always the same annoying trum, trum, trum effects. Let me explain what it is. When I was young, computer, ha ha ha, let's do this, ta 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 ta, and I pitch it up, so make it faster, 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 and that is fun as a child. And also with the drums, that's fun as a child, but then you hear adults doing the same, with music, with dance, and then, yeah, I find it a bit ridiculous sometimes, and then you hear it, the music, and then la la la, and then it comes, and then you think something happens, and then the same music again, and they go. You shouldn't do that. It's the same with speeches. As then, now I will come to the conclusion. Well, that's a bit stupid, right? So that doesn't work. Music, it's all about subtleties and finding the right bridges in between speeches. Let me finish with one DJ, and he's going like this. Put your hands up. Put your hands up in the air like you just don't care. Like you just don't care. Whatever. Thank you.